Okay, people, who's ready to rise? That was a bad joke. And I have no regrets. Either way, I am Simon. Hello. I have graced you in my presence in RIIZE attire. I don't know if you can see it. This is from their tour from 2025. I went to it, I got this shirt. And then I put a hoodie on top because this feels like an outfit RIIZE would unironically wear to a concert. I am still in khakis, actually. You can't see the bottom half of me. I came from work. Okay, it's a work day. It's a Tuesday. I came from work. So I am still in khakis that I wore to work, but the upper half of me feels very RIIZE. This feels like what RIIZE would wear. But either way, I'm talking about RIIZE today. I have graced you all with my presence to explain the long, storied, ridiculous history of RIIZE. Because RIIZE, here's the thing about RIIZE, is that you need to understand right off the bat. RIIZE is somehow one of the most mismanaged SM groups ever. And that's really saying something. I am, however, very excited to do this video. I love RIIZE. I do. I said for a while that RIIZE's entire concept was just 1 minute hot, make good music. And that was kind of it for most of the times they were active. It was just 1 minute looked really good and the music was excellent. Because RIIZE has some phenomenal tracks to their name and we'll get to them. But there's going to be more than just music, right? There's dynamics. There's social commentary, there's poor management, there's promotional styles that are distinct to RIIZE. There's so much to talk about. RIIZE has so much to talk about, and I can't wait to talk about all of it. But before we really begin, I would like to give you my disclaimers. Okay, RIIZE has a lot of passionate fans, and those fans exist on essentially every side of every aisle of every debate you can imagine. So I'd like to cover my bases. Item 1. SM is the worst. Okay, I have famously made a lot of videos about HYBE groups, both these intense deep dives and regular videos, and I am a certified HYBE hater, right? And it has led many in the world to believe that my blood runs pink. Could not be further from the truth, I am afraid. I hate most labels, frankly. I have a deep hatred for any label that has the tendency to debut a lot of minors, force them to get plastic surgery, seem incapable of successfully managing any of their groups, especially when you combine all three into a single entity. So in other words, I hate pretty much every major label. Item number 2, I'm not covering everything. Okay? RIIZE has a lot going on that I frankly don't care about, that I don't believe is relevant to the story I'm telling in this video. And I'm gonna skip it, okay? We all need to come to terms with that. You all need to come to terms with the fact that your comments telling me I missed things make me want to cry. And I need to come to terms with the fact that I'm still gonna get those comments telling me I missed things, no matter how many times I make this disclaimer. This disclaimer is in every single history of I've ever made. And I very consistently will get at least 1 or 2 comments that's you didn't mention this. And I'll be like, did we even listen? Did we even listen to my disclaimers? Probably not. For the record, this video is chaptered. Most people, I have to assume, skip past the disclaimers. I don't know. But either way, I'm not covering everything. You can make your own video if you would like. Item 3 is kind of hidden behind me, but if I move a bit, there are opinions. Okay, I've already told you that RIIZE has some god tier songs, and I will be hyping those up. RIIZE also has songs that I hate real bad, and I will be hating on those publicly as well. I have a wide range of opinions. I also have opinions on the members. I have opinions on some scandals that the members have gotten into. I have a lot of opinions, and it's my video, and I'm gonna share them. But with that, let us begin the timeline of RIIZE. Okay, and as always, we must begin with the members. We must begin with the lineup. And as always, to pretend I'm normal and unbiased, I go in age order. Even though I'm 75% sure that when we get to my favorite member, it will be apparent within about 10 seconds. Oh, also, like with a lot of modern groups, RIIZE does not have official positions, which is some nonsense. but whatever. I've given them positions. Okay? in my endless wisdom, in my years as the leading world's expert of RIIZE, at least in this moment, I would make that argument. I've given them positions. My answers are right. Okay? For the record, my position breakdown is correct. And with that, let's begin the members. And starting us off, we have the one and only Shotaro. Shotaro was born on November 25th, 2000, and to me, serves as our main dancer for sure, and then either our main or lead rapper. I couldn't decide, so I made him both. Now, Shotaro famously did debut in NCT, and we'll get to that. I am going to talk about the NCT Years once I'm done with all the members, so for now, let's just have some facts for this little guy. First and foremost, Shotaro does have taste. Shotaro is a SHINee stan. This is a picture of him with Key. I would love to sit down and rank SHINee's titles with him, because I think he and I would have both distinct but like similar opinions at the same time. I think it would be interesting. However, I unfortunately do not trust his taste. He's a bucket hat lover, and I mean like lover. He collects them. Also, apparently Shotaro auditioned for SM online. Like, I know he had like a popular TikTok account and that's how SM found him, but I also am pretty sure that like he sent in a tape, like an audition tape, and I don't know why my brain refuses to accept this, right? Like, I've been aware of this information for a while now, and my brain just refuses to compute it, because like, logically, right, it makes sense. SM idols come from pretty much all over the world. They skip most of Europe. But like between the US, like they cover the whole country, Canada, Asia, they have a bunch of different idols from different Asian countries. So like it makes sense that they would let people audition online. And my brain refuses to comprehend this. I don't know, and frankly, I don't need to know. My brain's inner workings are a mystery to all. With that, let's talk about Song Eun-suk. Eun-suk was born on March 19th, 2001. He is officially the visual, and is, I believe, the sub vocal. That's what feels right to me, so that's the position I gave him. As is customary for every SM boy group, basically, there's always that one member that trained for a century and a half. That's Eun-suk. Eun-suk would join SM in 2016. Okay? He joined SM before the NCT units were, like, solidified. Let's think about that. Okay? He was definitely meant to be in NCT. That's my personal theory. Back when NCT's concept was, like, real and functional before it all turned to absolute garbage. However, because he was a trainee for so damn long, Eun-suk actually didn't get up to much that's worth discussing, so we're going to jump ahead to his fun facts. First, Eun-suk has a black belt in Taekwondo. Very fun, very slay. Love that for him. On top of that, he has said that his favorite food is creamy pasta. Now, that is factually correct, by the way, but more importantly, it's psychologically damaging to me personally, because now I do want pasta. Also, I personally find this fascinating, and it is our first instance of SM being terrible at managing. Okay, Eun-suk did not join the company to be a singer. He wanted to be an actor. It's like very well known that Eun-suk's goal was to act, and then he sort of became an idol at some point. And I have so many questions, okay? Because I can't imagine he's like an awful actor. SM would have kicked him out if he was. But like, he sat in their dungeons for half a decade, and at no point they tried to make him an actor? At no point. Okay, sure. SM sucks. The answer is always that SM sucks. If you have a question about why a certain SM group did this really weird thing that makes no sense, the answer is always that SM is terrible. With that, let's talk about Sungchan. Jung Sungchan was born on September 13th, 2001, and is our other main or lead rapper, undetermined. Okay, I don't know. Between him and Shotaro, they're the two. Just go with it. He is also unofficially the token hip shaker / ass shaker. Sungchan is, of course, our other NCT member, and again, I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. For now, fun facts. First, Sungchan is a dog lover. Specifically, actually, he's a beagle lover. I feel like no one really is a beagle lover out there. Like, I'm sure the people exist, but in my mind, when I think about like people who have a favorite dog breed, Beagles never come up. I love that he's giving love to the Beagles. He has also famously to me at least, said that, quote, to avoid attention, he prefers to just do what he wants to do. And I would like to stress, I've seen this quote in like every profile of this man that I pulled up, and no one attributes it to a specific source. No one's like, in this live stream on this day, he said this. And I just Googled the words and it just brought up the profiles again. So I don't know where he said it. I think it's really funny. Speaking of funny RIIZE things, this feels like the perfect moment to bring up RIIZE's emojis. Okay, RIIZE as a group, I believe has some of my favorite emojis. Definitely the most like what the actual God's name is going on, right? Like Sungchan's, okay? His is a frog because he has big eyes. It's hilarious. I love it. It's not even my favorite. Moving on! Park Wonbin. Wonbin was born on March 2nd, 2002 and serves as the, I'm guessing, main dancer, that one feels right, lead vocal for sure, center presumably, definitely face of the group. If I'm confident on one thing, Wonbin is the face of this group. He is unfortunately that girl. Also, before I tell you anything else, I need to tell you the story of how Wonbin got into SM entertainment, okay? So I want us to rewind our minds to 2019. I would like to remind you, Wonbin, maybe 17 years old, okay? I didn't get a date in the year, I just know it was 2019. I'm assuming he's 17. So, 17-year-old Wonbin. He's on Instagram, living his best life, and he gets a DM, right? And it's from SM Entertainment asking him to audition. And I'm just imagining the adult human being whose job that is, right? Like, you come home from like a busy day at work, your partner's already there, they set the table for dinner, and they're like, hey honey, how was work today? And you're like, I did great. I messaged 14 teenagers asking them if they wanted to be famous. Other fun facts. First, Wonbin is a good guitar player. He can play the guitar, hence his emoji being a guitar. He's also canonically an awful liar and a good runner. He represented Ulsan in some running thing. However, when I was reading his profile, I read it as Utah. I can't defend this. I can't explain it. I was really confused. Also, last thing about Wonbin. Wonbin is terrified of roller coasters. This is important information because he also still likes going to amusement parks. So he'll like sit down on a bench and just like watch the people. And I read this information and I was transported back in time in my mind to when I was like 12, and my grandmother, she lived in Philly, so like at some point she demanded we all go to Hershey Park. So like my mom, my dad, my sister, me, we all like pile in the car, we drive out to Hershey Park, we get there, and my grandmother sits herself down on a bench and is like, okay, come find me when you're done. And we all like looked at her and we were like, what the fuck are we doing? We thought you wanted to go here. Enough family lore. It's time for controversy. It's time for Seunghan. We'll get to the drama in a minute. For now, let me tell you about this man. He was born on October 2nd, 2003. I have put him as the lead vocal. I've also put a question mark after that because like he was in RIIZE for such a short period. He's like the one member that I actually do not know what they were really doing. Like he was singing a lot, so I put him as the lead vocal. I'm not 100% on that. Either way, fun facts. First, Seunghan, musical boy. He can play the guitar and the piano, which I find quite slaveful. He also is a collector at heart. And I know you are only looking at like this TV and me and my wall. You can't see the several collections I have in my apartment. I have plush, I have albums, I have a lot of stuff. Okay, I see him. He's a collector. He specifically collects toys, actually, which I find both very iconic and very endearing. Oh lord, it's time. Okay. Seohee. Seohee was born on November 21st, 2003, is our iconic main vocal, and also, importantly, holds the record to me for the greatest emoji. This is Seohee's emoji. It's that like British soldier with the big hat, and I'm gonna tell you why that's his emoji. Okay? Seohee, when he wakes up, his hair goes directly vertical. His hair is a nightmare when he wakes up. Hence this being his emoji. It is literally just to make fun of him for his bedhead. I think it's so funny. Other Seohee fun facts. First, he is besties with Shion of NCT Wish. They were roommates at one point in time. do with that what you will. He has also said his favorite drink is cider, which is fitting because his favorite season is fall. And I now have a need. I need him in like a sweater photo shoot, like a very soft fall sweater photo shoot. Think like when EXO, back when they made Christmas albums. I'm specifically envisioning like Universe / Sing Free where they're in sweaters, right? I want Sohee to do that. And last but not least, Anton. Anton was born on March 21st, 2004, and to me, he's definitely the manga. Like that one's not up for debate. I would argue he's also sub-rapper, sub-vocal. I'm realizing I forgot to put it on here, but it is in my notes that I also think he's the visual. And we need to talk about Anton's family. Anton is our Nepo baby of the group, okay? Anton's mother is an actress, but she is not the big name. The big name is his father. Anton is the son of singer Yoon Sang. Yoon Sang famously was like huge in the 90s, okay? He has a bunch of huge hits to his name. His first 2 albums sold 1 million copies. Like he was really famous. Even now, he's still a pretty big producer. So like Anton has familial connections, we'll call it. However, because his parents were famous, Anton was on like a decent number of TV shows when he was a kid. And then at some point he wanted to be a swimmer. He was like big on swimming for a while. And then COVID hit and all the pools closed. So he transitioned to just casually being a singer. I say this with love, okay? I love Anton. I say this with love. He definitely does have the vibe of someone who had like really rich parents. Also, this is very important to me as well. Anton talks like Michael Jackson. I don't have a better way to describe the way Anton talks, but that it is Michael Jackson-esque. I've said this in other videos, mind you. Like, this is not a new stance, but I do stand by it. This man talks like Michael Jackson. They both have like softer tone. They remind me of each other, okay? I don't know how else to phrase it. He talks like Michael Jackson. However, that also wraps up our lineup. Okay, we're done with the members, which means we can now begin the timeline of RIIZE. However, the tale of RIIZE does not begin with RIIZE. The tale of RIIZE begins with NCT, because famously at the end of 2020, Sungchan and Shotaro would debut in NCT as 2 new members for their Resonance era. They would both get like a single that was sort of their debut single. I did like this method for them. Shotaro was in Make-A-Wish, Sungchan was in 90s Love. They promoted each single respectively, and then things got a little quiet, but we were all excited, right? Like we presumed it meant a new NCT unit was coming. Maybe it would be based in Japan. Good for this guy right here. But while we waited for more news, Sungchan would start hosting Inkigayo. He did that for about a year. Shotaro was also alive. Presumably, I mean, I'm sure he was breathing somewhere in some basement. They would also both be in the 3rd NCT album, Universe. Shotaro would even be in the single for that one. But after promotions for Universe were done, things got real quiet. And by quiet, I do mean deafeningly silent. Admittedly, SM was in a civil war at this point. This is when Isuman got kicked out of the company and it was like that whole debacle. If you were involved, you recall. But after things quieted down and the war was over, SM announced that these 2 were out of NCT and they'd be debuting in their new boy group that was fully not an NCT unit. And thus we enter the era of RIIZE. Now, people were sort of guessing at what the lineup was going to be as soon as Sungchan and Shotaro were announced to be in a new boy group. However, we actually got that lineup in August. This is followed on August 11th by the one and only Siren performance video. Siren was a lot of things, okay? In theory, it was a lot of things. The main thing was just that it showcased what they could do. It was mainly for the dancing, but it did give us, one could say, a taste of new music, but it was a nibble. It wasn't a full dish. No, that first dish would come about 10 days later when RIIZE released Memories, the pre-release for their debut album. And before I talk about Memories, I do need to complain. And you need to listen. This is a hostage situation now. I love a pre-release. I do. I love a pre-release for pretty much any album out there. I love it as a way to build hype, to sort of tease a new era. I love a pre-release for any moment in time unless it's for your debut. Under no circumstances should you be releasing a pre-debut single for your debut album, okay? It pisses me off every time. If you want it to be like a full pre-debut single, we can talk about that, but a pre-release for your debut, I can think of like 2 groups that have done it that I like, and every other time it pisses me off bad. Don't do it. Okay, I'm done complaining. Let's talk about Memories. Memories was moderately successful, I guess I'd say. It certainly wasn't like a major hit by any means, but it also wasn't a mainline single. If I were to compare it to the other debuts of SM groups, I know this isn't their official debut. It's what I'm comparing it to. Let me have this. I would say it did better than like Mama, but I don't think it wasn't replay level, that's for sure. I would put it on par with like Chewing Gum in my mind, because it got like good streams and good views, but it wasn't like incredible. So that's how I'm feeling. Then there's Memories as a song itself, okay? I have in the past described Memories as having meh verses and then the greatest chorus SM has ever made, and I do kind of stand by that. Like, the verses are fine, okay? The first verse is like pretty good. It kind of sets a tone. The second verse and also the bridge have a lot of rap that I don't like. The vocal part of the bridge, that part's great. That part's gorgeous. But like as a collective, the non-chorus portions of the song are fine. Things do sort of shift when you hit the pre-chorus. The pre-chorus slows it down. It gets a little funky. And then the chorus starts. And I feel like the greatest compliment I can give this chorus is that I will forget how good she is. Okay? I've heard this song dozens, if not like 100 times at this point in my life. And recently, like in the making of this video, I was taken aback at how good the chorus is. Like, I'll forget, and then it'll come on, I'll be like, oh my lord, this is the best thing I've ever heard. The chorus is just this like explosion of synthy dance pop, okay? It's so good. I jam my little heart out to it every single time I hear it. It is truly one of the finest choruses SM has ever created in their entire decades-long history. I truly, with my whole heart, wish the verses were even kind of on the same level. But Memories was the taste, right? Like, it was the pre-release. And we didn't have to wait long for the mainline material, because at the beginning of September, RIIZE would officially debut with their first single album, Get a Guitar. I have this version of it that I will be putting up. I can wait to tell you about the song. I can be patient. Instead, I'm going to start by telling you about Get a Guitar, the album, because this thing was massive. Get a Guitar would top the Gong charts, earning RIIZE a #1 album right out the gate, and sold over 1 million copies. It is one of the best-selling K-pop debut albums to this day, and at the time of its release was the second best-selling debut album from a K-pop group. It also did really strong in Japan. It would begin #2 on the Japanese charts and sold about 60,000 copies over there. So we're talking incredibly strong album sales, even for the high standards of an SM group. And then there's the single, the song, Get a Guitar. Now, SM has a wide spectrum of debuts to their name, and I mean that commercially speaking, right? Like, they have some of the biggest, most iconic debuts in history, and then they have some that are fine. I don't think SM has, like, a ton of diabolical flops. They have, like, one or two. For the most part, your range is, like, fine, pretty good, and then the occasional slay. And with that context, I need you to understand that I am not joking when I say that by various metrics, Get a Guitar is the most successful debut single from an SM group ever. For starters, Get a Guitar was a beast on the charts, okay? It would peak at number 15 on the Gaon charts and charted for 14 months. It charted well over a year. For some context, not only is that the longest charting debut single from an SM group, it is the longest charting debut single from any of the big three, including YG and JYP. I like how I tell you it includes YG and JYP, as if those two aren't the other members of the big three. Sometimes I like to yap. Okay, I just like to fill the air with my voice. And in that vein, let's talk about streaming now. Because Get a Guitar was also really big on streaming. It currently has about 135 million streams on Spotify, making it one of the most streamed K-pop debuts, and amongst SM boy groups, the most streamed debut single. Meanwhile, on YouTube, the audio track has 65 million views to itself. So, like, we're talking excellent streaming numbers. And the thing is, Get a Guitar deserves it all and more. Okay, this is the finest SM debut since Replay, and it's not even kind of close. I would like to describe to you the listening experience of Get a Guitar. Okay, so imagine, close your eyes. You've never heard Get a Guitar before in your life. You sit down, you put it on. The first verse is pretty good. Okay, it's nothing crazy. It's very Memories-esque. Like, it sets a nice tone, but it doesn't do too much. That changes when the pre-chorus comes in. The pre-chorus brings in the synths for starters, but it brings in like a funky vibe. Okay, it brings in the dance music of this song. And then the chorus comes in, and all bets are off. Get a Guitar has such an iconic chorus. Okay, like, for starters, the hook is incredible. It's catchy. It's memorable. The choreography is also very fun if you are watching a performance of this song. Plus, like, it's an incredible chorus. This song also, crucially, does not slow things down for the second verse. It's a mistake a lot of modern K-pop songs make, where they'll like build to the chorus and then it'll go down. No, I can live with that. I've learned to love it. Get a Guitar, however, does not do that. It just keeps the vibes going, okay? The second verse is incredible, it's dancey, and Sohee's little run at the end. Are we far enough in the video that I can confess my biases? It's too late. Sohee is my boy, if you didn't pick up on that. But also, this is the song that I knew. Okay, specifically the second verse of this song. I heard his part in the second verse of this song and I was hooked. That's all it took for me. The bridge also introduces something that feels distinctly RIIZE, which is a musical bridge. Now, they'll throw in a Get a Guitar every once in a while, but for the most part, the bridge of this song is just music. The music is the centerpiece, and it's incredible guitars. And it also, like, here's the thing. It's clearly meant for a dance break, but it works as listening also. Because, like, for my most experiences, I'm not watching Get a Guitar. I'm listening to Get a Guitar. And I will enjoy this bridge just as much listening to it as I will watching it. As a whole, though, Get a Guitar is everything anyone could have asked for a debut, right? Like, not only is the song a huge hit, but it's also phenomenal and would earn RIIZE a bunch of awards at major shows like the Melon Music Awards. And in a rare moment of competency, SM fully pushed this insane popularity RIIZE already had, because by the end of October, they'd already released another single with Talk Sexy. Talk Sexy is a shift, to be sure. I will not concede, I needed it to grow on me. I wasn't huge on it when it came out. In the modern day, I do think it's fun, but I will also concede that if you made me like rank every single RIIZE single, this would be near the bottom. Talk Sexy is very Memories coded, by which I mean some parts of the song are phenomenal, right? Like the second half of the chorus, the occasional parts of the verses. Like, there's some really good stuff there. It's just intermixed with other stuff too. As a whole though, Talk Sexy is good, right? I'm not gonna call it bad. I think it's a good song. I think there's a lot to love there. I also will concede that it is an acquired taste, right? Like, if you're gonna look me in the eye and be like, I hate this song, I think this song is awful, I won't judge you for that. This is no Get a Guitar, and it doesn't even have the, like, insanity of the Memories chorus. Of their first three singles, it's definitely the weakest, but I wouldn't call it bad. And the public is pretty much on the same page as I am. Talk Sexy was a moderate disturbance on the charts, peaking number 68, chart for about 3 months. So for a boy group, especially at this point in time, that's pretty strong, but it's no Get a Guitar. Same thing with streaming, where like the music video has 45 million views and the song has 60 million streams on Spotify. Those are strong numbers for a lot of artists. It is also half of what their debut got. However, there were other things also going on with RIIZE at this time, which means it's time to talk about Sunga. Rewinding a smidge, okay, we're talking pre-debut era. A couple of pictures got leaked of Sungan. Here is a list of Sungan's wrongdoings according to the general public, okay? He smoked in high school, he had a girlfriend, he was shown toe. He did not show toe, Subin showed toe. He was merely on the live where toe was shown. Now, SM's original move was ignore it and wait for it to go away. A very classic SM move, for sure. And then by the time November had rolled around, it was very clear that like this wasn't just gonna go away. They did actually kind of need to do something. Personally, I would have told everyone to calm the fuck down. SM did not do that. They made a different choice. First, Seunghan was put on hiatus. I can live with this move. It's not the one I would have taken, it's not the end of the world. The other thing they did was start threatening lawsuits, which, okay, we're protecting our artists a little bit, love a threat, and then they went a little quiet. The Seunghan front was a bit silent, dare I say. If you brought up Seunghan, dead silence was your response. If you showed up to a RIIZE event holding a sign with the number 7 on it, you were gonna get shot. Okay? You might as well have written an actual real-life slur. This is sort of the vibe for the next chunk of RIIZE's career. You sort of had an inner war in the fandom that was very largely divided between international and domestic fans. The actual Korean fans hated Seunghan. They wanted him thrown out of the group. Meanwhile, international fans were like, we don't care. We all had girlfriends in high school. Who among us hasn't had a cigarette and seen a toe? So like, international fans, we didn't give a fuck. Domestic fans wanted him kicked out of the group. So basically, no one was happy, but everyone was sort of just quietly hoping we were gonna get our way. But on that note, we are first done with 2023. That's kind of it. The year ends with Seunghan's hiatus. But more importantly, we have been here for a while, and I think we need a break. So we're gonna have a little look back. We're gonna have a retrospective, if you will, and then we'll circle back. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Retrospective Corner. Now, if you are new here, if this is your first History of with me, whenever I make these videos, I just like to sort of wrap up each year with a little retrospective. I look back on the year, I talk about the highlights, it gives me an excuse to talk about things I didn't get to work in earlier. It's a fun time, okay? Now, RIIZE's first few months, their 2023 era, was complicated, to be sure, but we're gonna start positive, okay? RIIZE was huge in 2023. RIIZE alongside Zero Base One were kind of the first big boy groups to come out of 5th Gen, and admittedly, 5th Gen at this point was like a brand new. It had barely been a thing, but even so, RIIZE very quickly distinguished themselves in terms of popularity by being easily the leading boy group when it came to the digital numbers. On top of that, RIIZE's 2023 music is good. At least the stuff that was officially released in 2023 is good. I'm not gonna say they're like experimental. They make what is at its core very classic pop music, but they're willing to play around with that sound within the scope of pop music. And even with the whole Seunghan thing, we'll call it, everyone was still very excited to see what RIIZE was going to do in 2024, so let's go talk about it. Alrighty people, welcome to our first full year of RIIZE. And we have no time to waste, because on January 5th, the very start of the year, RIIZE returned with their next digital single, Love 119. And Love 119 is another great song from RIIZE, I'm willing to say. It samples this 2005 hit, and the whole song really has that like sort of 2000s pop feel to it. The music feels just lighter, it's less dancey, but still hits perfectly. In the spectrum of RIIZE releases, I'm definitely putting this below Get a Guitar, but it's for sure above Talk Sexy. Society, however, disagrees with me, because this is probably RIIZE's biggest hit, right? Like, it would peak in the top 5 of the Gaon and Melon charts, their highest peaking song on either chart to this day. It also had really strong longevity, charting for 14 months, just like Get a Guitar. However, it would also earn RIIZE their first music show win. It got 2 wins in total. Meanwhile, over on streaming, it has over 100 million streams. So we're talking hits across the board, and is really the song that cemented RIIZE as the leading 5th Gen boy group. Following promotions for Love 119, we got more Love 119. This time, their Japanese version, which would mark the group's official Japanese debut. Speaking of Japan, though, that same month, RIIZE would join various label mates for SM Town's Tokyo Dome shows, performing in front of more than 100,000 people. However, that's not all, because the next month, RIIZE would open for IU. I feel like K-pop groups don't really do openers, which feels like a missed opportunity. Right? I feel like we need to normalize like the major artists, like the IUs of the world, having like lesser idols open for them. I think it's fun. We should start doing it. Things would quiet down after the IU shows, but they would pick up again in April when RIIZE began properly gearing up to release their first album, and they started this era with Siren. Siren, you may recall, has existed. We got the dance practice of Siren before we got pretty much anything else from RIIZE, but it had never been released on streaming at all, but explicitly as a full version of the song. The actual snippet we got was like a minute and a half long. April got us the full-length song. Now, Siren is not very good. To me. Okay? To me, it's not a great song. The music is very NCT 127 is the way I'm going to choose to put it. Like, there are good parts to the song, mainly the verses. The chorus, not so much. However, Society and I are once again not at all on the same page. Keep in mind, the girls have been waiting for Siren to be released for like a year. So when it finally dropped, they did not fuck around. Okay, this thing nearly peaked in the top 20 and charted for about 5 months. It has 40 million streams on Spotify. For context, because boy groups have like taken over the charts again, back in early 2024, that was not the case. If a random boy group released this song and it did these numbers, it would probably be their biggest hit to date, okay? And RIIZE was pulling in these numbers with a random digital single that was not even an official pre-release. No, that official pre-release would come a few days later on April 18th when RIIZE released Impossible. So, this is RIIZE's best song. If you want to see me jump to my feet in record time and immediately start dancing, just ask me to give you that beat. I will be there. Impossible is from what feels like a very distinct era when a lot of K-pop groups suddenly started releasing house music. And it's masterful. The music in this thing is so perfect. The verses are iconic, don't get me wrong, but the chorus is one of the finest things I've ever heard from an SM group. I stand by that. Like, it's dancey, and it's catchy, and it's memorable, and it's so just... It's musical serotonin to me, and Seungchan, that final chorus, that man made his mark on history. Impossible also brings back what we got in Get a Guitar with that musical bridge. The music for this bridge is incredible, and it works as a listening experience. It's, again, meant for a dance break, but it works if I'm just streaming. Like, let me put it this way, okay? Impossible was one of my most streamed songs of 2024, and I'm still feral about it. I was feral when it came out, and I have yet to calm down. And me and Society are back on the same page. Impossible was yet another hit. Okay, number 26 on the charts, 4 months on the charts, 50 million streams on Spotify. RIIZE had put out 2 singles in 2 weeks and got 2 more hits. And we're somehow still not done with April, because for reasons I cannot fathom, SM decided at the end of April they were going to release the B-sides for RIIZE's then upcoming album digitally. I don't know why the fuck they did this, but let's talk about them. We're going to start with the last song, which is One Kiss. This is classic pop music, okay? I said when it came out that it reminded me of Girls' Generation, and I stand by that. It's bright, it's fun, it's great. If you wanted to move up a song, the B-side before that would be Honestly. This is RIIZE's first attempt at an R&B song, and they're really good at it. Like, RIIZE secretly makes goated R&B music with the beat and the vocals and the chorus. This will not be our final time discussing RIIZE being secretly really good at poppy R&B. And then the final B-side, our golden B-side, 9 Days. Now, if this is your first History of, and you were wondering why this slide has the words the golden B-side on it, I made up an award. Oh god, I think I was talking about Hot. I made up an award at some point for the golden B-side, which is just my favorite B-side on the album that I'm discussing. It does not have to be the best song. I do believe Objectively Honestly is a better song than 9 Days, but I like 9 Days more, and this award goes to my favorite. But 9 Days is excellent. right? Like, I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you it's the best song on here. I've already told you that it's not. But it is fun, right? Like, it's just fun dance pop music. It has a catchy chorus. Sometimes your brain just needs fun dance pop, and this was the moment my brain needed fun dance pop. Either way, though, those are the B-sides. RIIZE's first B-sides, kind of. And they're all great. RIIZE continues having the concept of just make good music and Wonbin looks hot. About a week after we got the B-sides, we got Rising Day. RIIZE would host their first official concert in Seoul at the start of May. 2 shows, both sold out. This was followed by a pretty weird run of shows, I'd say. We got like Japan, Mexico City, and LA, and then they went back to Asia before things quieted down in June. However, just because RIIZE was on tour does not mean they weren't busy. Specifically, they were releasing remixes. The one I want to talk about is the remix of Impossible by Darius. This song is so fucking good. Here's the thing. SM loves a remix. Everyone likes to point to Hybe for the original, like, let's make 800 billion remixes of our songs to go viral on TikTok. And the TikTok part is unique to Hybe. The remix part is not. SM has been doing this shit for years, and usually they're bad. The reason why I typically ignore them, and if you are like me and typically ignore them, it's probably because they're bad. This is like one of 10 exceptions. They took what was already like a fun, dancey house track, and they made it better. They threw in piano. It builds perfectly. I'm not gonna say it's better than the original version. I don't think it's better. But the fact that they were able to give me a remix that is not dog shit is impressive in and of itself, let alone that I love it. Like, this was also one of my most streamed songs of 2024. However, that is not all we got in June, because on June 17th, RIIZE released Rising, their first mini album. I have these 2 versions. I don't really like this one. I'm gonna display this one. But we're actually gonna start with the title track. We're gonna start with Boom Boom Bass. This song is fantastic. It's very get-a-guitar coded, which makes a lot of sense. It's the same producer. The music is fun and catchy. The chorus is amazing, and some of the coolest music we've gotten from RIIZE so far, if not to this day, and we get another one of those like musical dance break bridges that still hits perfectly. Like, the verses are great. I even like the raps. They, to me, have just enough like chaos in them to be really fun without going too far and being bad, like some other RIIZE raps. These ones are good though. I like them. I like the chorus even more. This is another one of those like explosion pop list choruses, and it's great, okay? It's catchy, the hook is fantastic, and specifically that last chorus, where so he's screaming his head off in the background, that's iconic. Basically, it is yet another banger from RIIZE. But not only was Boom Boom Bass another banger, it was another hit. Top 20 on the Gaon charts with 10 months charting, and winning on every single music show the week it came out. Meanwhile, over on streaming, 80 million on Spotify. The music video has 34, with another 40 million on the audio track. Plus, in Japan, it was a top 40 hit. Like, Boom Boom Bass was huge. And the album was just as successful. It didn't peak at number 1, it peaked at number 2, but it did sell 1.4 million copies, so I think that makes up for it. Plus, it went number 1 in Japan and sold 65,000 copies there. Like, RIIZE with this album proved that not only were they the strongest charting boy group digitally, they had really solid album sales to back it up. Following promotions for Boom Boom Bass, RIIZE would go back on the road. They would do some shows in Asia, but the main next chunk of touring was in Japan. They had an extensive Japanese leg. Like, I'm talking more than 15 shows in a month. However, isn't it so convenient because just before their Japanese leg, the day before to be exact, RIIZE would release Lucky, their first Japanese single album. But Lucky did great, okay? It sold 300,000 copies, going number 1 in Japan and earning them a platinum certification. As for the music, the album's lead single was the titular Lucky. This one's delightful, okay? It's just more fun, dancey pop music. The album came with 2 B-sides as well. Same Key is great. It's fun. It's youthful. I like it. Be My Next exists. It has good parts to it. And also raps. But Lucky is not all the new music we got, because just after their Japanese leg, they would head back to Korea to release Rising Epilogue, a repackaged version of their mini album. The album was led by the single Combo, and that's where I want to start. Okay, I want us to start off talking about Combo. And before I tell you the numbers for Combo, I want to give you the context around Combo. RIIZE did not promote this song at all. No music show promotions. A lot of people don't even know this song exists. And as a result, it didn't do very well. It didn't chart. It has under 10 million streams on Spotify. It is the least streamed song on this album, including the B-sides. Like, the girls do not engage with this song whatsoever. And I think that's sad, because Combo is good. Like, I'm not gonna say it's one of their best songs. It's one of their weaker ones, if we're being honest. But, like, RIIZE has a billion singles. And this one's good. It's their first real attempt to pull from rock music, which means the music on this thing is fantastic. The chorus is a smidge too shouty for me, but the rest of the song is delightful. The verses are great. Sohee sounds excellent. I love a nasally boy, if you didn't know this about me. Like, someone get Haechan, Sohee, and Taehyun in a studio. I need it now. While I wait for my dream trio music album, I want an album, but while I wait, let's talk about the album sales, because this thing sold. Okay, that makes it sound like it sold horribly. It sold 350,000 copies. It peaked at #1 on the Gaon charts. It did pretty well for most boy groups. It just happens to be that their last album sold 4 times as much. Either way, I told you that RIIZE didn't do much promotion for this album, but they did do one thing. That one thing being their epilogue shows. That is correct. From September 13th to the 15th, RIIZE would hold 3 sold-out shows in Seoul, completing their Rising Day tour. And more great news. On October 11th, SM would officially announce that Seunghan was back. He wrote a whole letter. SM made a whole public statement. They said the members were in support. RIIZE was 7 again. And then 24 hours later, he got kicked out of the group. Yeah. So the Korean fans, the ones who were anti-Seunghan being in the group, they weren't thrilled that Seunghan was in the group. And in what I think should be legally punishable, they sent a lot of funeral wreaths to SM. That's their method of protest, is to send funeral wreaths. They did also send, like, regular death threats, which is also probably legally punishable if SM did anything about them. But let's just say SM does not have a strong spine. They backed down real fast and pretty much immediately kicked Seunghan back out of RIIZE. This was a huge deal. Okay, I feel like no one remembers this era because we've all moved on, right? Like, we've all come to terms with the state of RIIZE. But, like, this was insanity. International fans were pissed in a way that in the 11 years, I've been a K-pop fan for 11 years, I can count on, like, one hand the number of times I've seen this many people this mad about something, arguably justifiably. Like, international stores stopped stocking RIIZE for a while. This was a thing, right? There were petitions and think pieces. This very nearly killed RIIZE's career. I will also say, like, since we're here, Seunghan does have solo music. Here's a copy of his debut album. It looks like an old DVD. I really love this album packaging. I'm gonna put it up for my next little monologue. But Seunghan does have solo music. Seunghan has good solo music. He has really good solo music. You should listen to his solo music. However, with that said, I have the rule when I make these videos that I don't cover former members. I don't cover their activities. I don't talk about what they get up to when they leave the group or when they are forced to leave the group. And in spite of how I feel about how Seunghan was treated, I have decided to follow that rule even now. So I'm going to tell you Seunghan has 2 albums. His listening experience will not take you long. You can knock it out in like 30 minutes max. All his songs are great. He has never missed. He took the good music with him. And on that note, we're done with 2024. There's nothing else that I feel like talking about. So let's go back to the retrospective corner. Okay, 2024. Definitely a complicated year. We definitely do start very strong. Let's start with the hits, okay? RIIZE had a slew of hits in 2024. 4 of them in the span of 6 months, to be exact. And RIIZE at this point was probably the biggest 5th gen boy group, at least in terms of the digital numbers they could pull in. They were on top. But on that topic, I want us to talk about RIIZE's promotional strategy for a second, because RIIZE's move up until this point has been very clearly constantly putting stuff out, okay? The longest gap we've had between RIIZE releases, between Memories and between Memories and Combo, is like a couple months. Between Memories and Boom Boom Bass, I think it was like 8 weeks or something. It was very tight. RIIZE was constantly releasing new music. And I do think this constant releasing is why RIIZE did so well in 2024. Like, part of it is the law of large numbers. RIIZE was already popular. If you keep throwing stuff at the wall, eventually something's gonna stick. But also, I think that constant release kept them in the public's mind in a way that isn't true for most boy groups. If you look at most boy groups will easily go 6 months between albums, and they will not do really anything in between. RIIZE did not do that. RIIZE was constantly promoting. They were constantly visible. And if you didn't like one of their songs, within 6 weeks, you were gonna get another one, and you were probably gonna like that one. But on the topic of all these releases, RIIZE's music this year is also pretty great. Like, Impossible and Boom Boom Bass alone are two of their best songs, but also, we do start to see them playing around a lot more with their sound. Admittedly, this is because they have B-sides. Groups are much more willing to try something out on a B-side than on a mainline title, and because we started to get B-sides, we started to hear those different sounds. We started to get more R&B. We started to get rock. They started playing a lot more. However, things do change with Seunghan. RIIZE lost a lot of fans after Seunghan left the group. Like, there's no better way to put it. RIIZE lost not necessarily the majority of their fan base, but they lost like a large slice of that pie. And spoilers for the future, RIIZE is never going to get even kind of the levels of hits they got in 2024 at any point in the rest of their career. That doesn't mean they didn't have anything going on though. So why don't we go talk about what RIIZE got up to in 2025? Okay. 2025. RIIZE is now 6. Let's see what they get up to. And we start our year with a special single, because on January 8th, RIIZE would release Hug, a cover of the same song by TVXQ. Now, before I talk numbers, let's have a brief history lesson, okay? Now, back in the first few years of the 2020s, SM loved doing these remake singles, because they'd go really well for them. They gave aespa Dreams Come True, they gave Dream Candy, both of which massive hits. Hug was not that. Hug wasn't a complete failure. It peaked at number 41 on the Gaon charts, but aespa and Dream both had top 10s. They both had major hits, and when you consider the fact that RIIZE's mainline singles were peaking in the top 20, it's not looking too good. Hug would go on to be featured on the SM Town album that came out in February, but things will quiet down after that's done. We're going to jump ahead to April, when SM would announce that after 9 months, RIIZE would be releasing new music, new original music specifically. They would be releasing their first studio album in May, and at the start of May, we got the pre-release Bag Bad Back. Now, if this song were anything to go by, I was not joking when I said Seunghan took the talent with him. This song is really bad. I don't know who decided that the next genre RIIZE needed to try out was hip-hop. Evil. Despicable. I hope you never know peace. We, however, were not stuck with that atrocity for long, because a few weeks later, RIIZE released Odyssey, their first studio album. And Odyssey sold fantastically well, okay? It sold 2 million copies, earned RIIZE their third #1 album, and closed 2025 as the 8th highest selling album that year. And it wasn't just a domestic success either. It was big in Japan too. It sold 150,000 copies over there and earned RIIZE a gold certification. Like, this album sold insanely well. Then there's the lead single, Miss Fly Up. She did fine. That sounds too vague. Fly Up was kind of a hit. Okay, it peaked in the top 10 of the Gaon charts. It charted for about 3 months. For most boy groups, it would have been a major success. Except for the fact that this is RIIZE, okay? In 2024, RIIZE's random one-off singles were pulling in 4 or 5 months on the charts. So 3, it's not looking ideal. But if domestic numbers weren't ideal, streaming numbers were a bit abysmal. Fly Up has about 20 million streams on Spotify currently. Again, very strong for a lot of artists. It's also a quarter of what Boom Boom Bass got. And again, even if we want to look at like lesser single songs like Siren or Impossible, they can still pull in double those numbers. Basically, Fly Up would have been a hit for pretty much anyone else, okay? Even like major boy groups, like if Z-Bone had released a song, it would have been a major hit for them. Except for the fact that this is RIIZE. This was the strongest charting 5th gen boy group. And by comparison, it was a bit of a flop. Which is sad because Fly Up is still great. It very quickly alleviated all the fears I had about their pre-release. Like, this song is fun. I've seen it get called rock and roll, and like, I get the vision for that. It has that like groove to it that I hear from rock and roll, and as a whole, like, it has a great, catchy beat. The pre-chorus is also one of my favorites in any RIIZE song. It feels almost wholesome. It feels brighter than what a lot of their other pre-choruses are. I think it's delightful. Plus, there's the chorus, and this chorus is just fun, okay? This is a fun, catchy chorus. It has a great hook, so he sounds excellent. That boy lives to hoot and to holler. As a whole, again, I'm not gonna lie and say this is one of their best songs ever. It's not. On its best day, is like top 5 RIIZE singles, maybe. So like, it's not life-altering, but it's still one of my favorite songs of 2025 from a boy group, and it still did not get the love that I think it deserves as a song. Then we have the B-sides. Now, this is the first RIIZE album that I'd say has B-sides. Their last album like legally had B-sides, but realistically it had like 8 music videos and then one song that didn't get one but was kind of still a single. This is different. This is just B-sides, which means this is by far the most diverse thing we've gotten from RIIZE. The album opens with the titular Odyssey, and I need it known right now, this is one of RIIZE's best songs, okay? I have a holy trinity of RIIZE B-sides, and this is entry number 1. Odyssey is this like dreamy synth pop song. It's a sound we've never heard from them before, and they absolutely do demolish. Like, this thing is excellent. The chorus is phenomenal. I love it so much, okay? I love this song so much. Speaking of sounds we've never heard from RIIZE before, ballads. In spite of ballads being a staple of pretty much every SM discography, RIIZE had actually never done one before this album, and we get 2 on here. Inside My Love is a classic pop ballad. Okay, think Britney Spears if Britney Spears was a boy group, which upon reflection is just NSYNC. But I don't know if NSYNC has ballads like that, because I don't fuck with NSYNC like that. But it's a classic pop ballad. It's nice. Moving up a song, we do get our other ballad, which is The End of the Day. This is much more of like your classic ballad. It reminds me actually a lot of early SHINee, like Lucifer at the latest kind of era. I do really like it. I want that known. I think it's good. It's also the lesser of the 2 ballads, in my opinion. Let's go up one more song to talk about Midnight Mirage. I can't explain why. This also feels like SHINee to me. And I don't get it, because SHINee does not have a song that really sounds like this. But either way, it's brighter. It's more like classic pop music again, but it's good and I like it. Okay, I think I've been positive enough, which means I can now talk about my least favorite B-side, which is Ember to Solar. Now, I'm gonna say 2 things about this song. First thing is that I think it does not fit the vibes of the album. That's my first beef with it. It's just that it feels out of place. My other beef is that it's too loud. That's why it feels out of place. Like, it's very shouty, and the chorus, I will admit, warrants the shoutiness. The verse is less so. Maybe we calm down. However, because I do have love and positivity in my heart, I will say one nice thing about this song. It is the perfect concert opener. Like, within RIIZE's catalog, if you made me pick the song they should open every concert with, it would be this one, which is probably why when I saw them live, they opened with this song. We're getting ahead of ourselves. For now, Show Me Love. I love Show Me Love. Show Me Love is my 3rd favorite song on this album. It's RIIZE's take on like a pop rock vibe, and it's an absolute gem. It's an absolute delight, okay? It's catchy, it's fun. The chorus, listen, I hate an overly repetitive chorus 95% of the time. This one has them saying "show me love" constantly, and it works because they sing it differently. It's fun. Okay, this is like the least streamed song from this album on Spotify, and I don't know why. It's fun. You need better taste. However, I told you that "Show Me Love" is my third favorite song on this album. If you use some like critical thinking and have a good memory, you can probably piece together my second favorite would be the opening Odyssey, which means it is time for my favorite, the golden B-side, the album's closer, Another Life. I'm just gonna say something right now. I think this is RIIZE's best song. Okay, it is not necessarily my favorite. There's one other song that can like kind of go blow for blow, but in terms of like the artistry that is making music, I do believe this is RIIZE's peak. If you've ever questioned what I've talked about when I say that a song builds perfectly, look no further than Another Life by RIIZE, okay? This song starts pretty chill. If you made me guess the vibes of this song by the first like 30 seconds, I'd tell you that it's fine. And then the pre-chorus comes in. This pre-chorus starts with Wonbin doing some fantastic vocals, and then also there's drums and this electric guitar, and it suddenly just explodes into some of the greatest music I've ever heard. Actually, pause. Can we talk about Wonbin on this song? This is his song. He sounds so good on this song. Like, he sounds almost like Haechan, which does make sense. They have similar vocal tones, but also, like, he sounds amazing. I do now also need a duet between him and Haechan, like, on Taste 2, on Haechan's second album, I do need either Wonbin. If not him, I would love a Sohee feature. I need my nasally voice. Back to the song. The chorus is fantastic, if you were wondering, right? It's just, again, it's this explosion that hits just enough that I start foaming at the mouth. It's just, between the vocals and the music, it is one of the finest things I've ever heard, and it is not even the shining star of the song. The shining star of the song is the final 90 seconds. This bridge starts like the song, right? Like, the music cuts out, it gives us a little bit of a respite, and then Sohee starts singing. And he starts doing his note, and then Wonbin comes in and delivers his best line vocally in any RIIZE song, and I start hyperventilating. After that, we get the final chorus, and you might think you're done. And you would be wrong. The final 30 seconds of this song is sort of a musical interlude that includes some of the best guitar and drums I've ever heard in a K-pop song. Like, if you haven't seen the song live, you don't get it. It's a religious experience. And if you hate this song, you're not seeing the light of heaven. However, that's Odyssey. That is the Odyssey album. I do like it. I think it's a great album. There are some songs on it that I don't love, but I would consider several of its entries amongst RIIZE's best songs. And as a whole, I think it's great. However, RIIZE barely got a second to breathe, because as soon as Fly-Out promotions were over, they were back on tour. They were specifically launching the Rising Loud tour with a show in Seoul that July. And can I complain for 5 seconds again, okay? So, for starters, this is the Rising Loud tour. It's a terribly named tour, but that's not even my biggest gripe. My biggest gripe is the missed opportunity. Because you may have forgotten already, this is in promotion of their Odyssey album. The Odyssey, famously a journey. I cannot believe that no one in the room even considered for a moment using the term Odyssey in their tour. What the actual fuck? SM, are you stupid? Anyway, this tour was massive. Okay, I'm talking like 3 months straight of touring. They were in Asia for a while, all the way until September. Then they came to the US, because you may recall, I saw them. They would perform in the US all throughout November, specifically performing in Seattle, where I saw them. I do vividly recall that show being really weird. Like, the vibes were a hot mess. Phoebe Bridgers might be onto something, but I made a whole video about it. I'll put it in the description for your viewing pleasure. Now, RIIZE would finish their run of shows, for 2025 at least, on November 14th, and once more did not get a second to breathe, because 10 days later, they released their second single album, Fame. And Fame sold well, I suppose. It went #1 and it sold 700,000 copies. Again, That is good. It is also a third of what their last album sold. Now, I'm going to try and justify these numbers a little bit. Here's the thing, is that comparing Fame and Odyssey don't really work, because fulls typically will sell the strongest, and singles will typically sell the weakest. So, like, yes, it sold a third, but that's not really a good equivalent. A better equivalent is Get a Guitar, where this album is down 400,000 copies. So, like, it definitely saw a concerning drop. Things weren't faring much better digitally. If anything, it was looking worse, because RIIZE has, up until this point, very consistently been strong on the digital charts. And Fame broke that streak. It would peak at number 54 on the Gaon charts and number 98 on the Melon charts, barely charting for a month. Streaming numbers aren't as horrendous. Fame would get about 25 million streams, so it's actually stronger than Fly Up, but as a whole, it's definitely not looking good for RIIZE. And the thing is, though, that I do get it, right? Like, Fame is easily RIIZE's worst mainline single, if not their worst song overall. This song draws from a mix of, like, hip-hop and a rough style of rock, and the combination is not the most pleasing to listen to. I will say, Sully in this song is still delivering excellence. Like, specifically in that second verse, he's really good there. That's the only nice thing I can say about this song. So we're just gonna move on. Thankfully, I now get to tell you about the B-sides, and these B-sides are very much for me. The album opens with Something in the Water. It's this, like, dreamy R&B song. It's really cool. It's really good. It's also, dare I say, Anton's best performance in a song. In like 5 years, when we get Anton's solo album, this is the vibe I want from him. And our golden B-side, the final member of the RIIZE B-side Holy Trinity, is this album's closer, Sticky Like. This song is pop perfection. I have seen it called pop rock, specifically Wikipedia calls it pop rock. And listen, I love pop rock. And that's not what this song is. Like, technically, there are light elements of rock in specifically the chorus. But, like, as a whole, this is just a pop song. There's not really that much rock in it, and it's perfect. The best part of this song to me is the second verse specifically. For starters, I think this rap is RIIZE's best rap. Like, in my opinion, this is the best rap in a RIIZE song. But also the vocal part. That part has me feral. Actually, on the topic of me being feral, can we talk about the chorus for a second? This chorus does my favorite thing, which is the simplest thing. It opens the final chorus with a lot less music. And then all the music comes in. And it hits perfectly. And then you throw Sohee in the background, screaming his ass off. And I ascend. However, that's 2025. Promotions for Fame would take us into December. Then it's normal year-end stuff. We finished. So for the final time in this video, let's go back to the retrospective corner. May I be frank? 2025 RIIZE is not looking too good. Starting with the numbers, Odyssey did great. Like, physically, Odyssey sold incredibly well, and Fly Up was a decent hit. Not on par with their 2024 releases, but for a boy group at this point, it did well. That cannot be said for Fame. Fame, both the album and single, heavily underperformed. Plus, musically, it's a lot more of a mixed bag. We do have some amazing songs from RIIZE in 2025, right? Like, we got Another Life, we got Sticky Like. But then there's the other side of the spectrum, right? We get songs like Fame, songs like Bad Bag Back, or, like, songs that make me sit here and be like, what are we doing here? Speaking of the question of what are we doing here, though, can I talk about what we're doing with RIIZE for a second in 2025? I said, in my expert and correct opinion, that a big factor in why RIIZE was so successful in 2024 was that they did not follow the traditional boy group model. The traditional boy group model is 2 to 3 albums a year. You do not drop digital singles in between, and if you do, it is a pre-release for that album, nothing else, and you're gonna get one of those, okay? RIIZE did the opposite of that. RIIZE released essentially one album in 2024 that had 4 to 5 singles that were all hits, right? And I don't know why they suddenly stopped doing that. Like, imagine my surprise when at the end of 2024, I'm sitting there and being like, wow, RIIZE really abandoned the traditional boy group style to suddenly start doing the traditional boy group style. To suddenly go 8 months between albums with essentially nothing in between, and then go like several months after that. I don't know what we're doing here. And I know someone's gonna be sitting there being like, don't you want them to rest? Like, I talked about their schedule. I looked at their entire schedule. I know how busy they already were in 2025, specifically with their tour. I know that. I'm not saying they needed to actively promote every single song. What I'm saying is, if they had dropped Odyssey in like April, then we got Bad Back Back, then we got Fly Up, and also for Fame, they dropped Sticky like 3 weeks out, just a music video. Not even like a full album, like full promotional run, just a music video. I think we would have secured several more hits. I don't know, I just kind of think that when SM decided to kick Sungan out, and they saw the backlash that the international fans had, they kind of gave up on managing RIIZE in a coherent manner. But with that, on to 2026. All right, people, welcome to current year 2026. We do not have much to cover, but we don't have nothing. However, what we mainly have is concerts. RIIZE would spend the beginning of 2026 bopping around Asia. Specifically and importantly, however, they would hold their first 3 shows at the Tokyo Dome, selling more than 100,000 tickets just to those shows. And as is the way, and just in time for their Tokyo Dome shows, RIIZE would release All of You, their second Japanese single album. And this was another massive seller for RIIZE. Number 2 on the charts, but sold more than 400,000 copies, going double platinum in Japan. Following their time in Japan, RIIZE would return to Korea to close out the Rising Loud tour with 3 encore shows in Seoul. Things do get pretty quiet after that. However, on April 18th, RIIZE would drop 2 singles on the same day. The first is Killshot in Japan. This one is fantastic. It's very pop rock. It's very good. The other one is Behind the Shine. This one's an OST. It is gorgeous. Jumping ahead a bit, RIIZE would then begin gearing up for their next album, with 2 being released on June 15th, which just so happens to be today. Yeah, ideally, today is June 15th. Today, as of like posting day, I am obviously not sitting here on June 15th, but ideally, the album just came out. My predictions for it are, it will sell better than Fame, but worse than their minis. I'm thinking like about 1 million or so. I'm thinking like a little jump. We're not talking 2 million. That's my theory, okay? That's my prediction for the numbers. As for the music, I have heard multiple teasers for this album. One sounded amazing, and then one sounded horrible. So I don't fucking know what we're gonna get at this point. With RIIZE in the past year, we're either getting excellence or we're getting garbage. However, that is all I have for you in this moment, which means this has officially been the History of RIIZE. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching. If you've made it this far, you are a true icon and a true love of my life. What else do I have to say? This was fun. I like diving into RIIZE. I'm like, I need to get back to my roots, which is older groups. And my next history up is going to be for an older group. I already know who it's going to be for. But I love doing the modern groups too. Like, there's something, older groups didn't play around with their sound, I feel like, in the same way that modern groups do. But older groups also had better music. It's very complicated. But I had a great time making this video. If you liked this video, feel free to like and subscribe, or don't. I'll be fine either way, because I make no money off this channel. You can also comment whatever you want down below. Let me know your favorite RIIZE title. Let me know the song that you love that I disparaged. Let me know whatever you want. In the description, I'll put a couple things, okay? I'll put all of my RIIZE reviews. I've reviewed most of their disc... Well, that's not true, actually, because I didn't talk about their full. And their full is like half of the music. But in terms of like individual releases, I reviewed most of it. So there's that. I will also put down there the video I made for RIIZE's concert. My playlist that has all my other history ofs. I've done a wide range of artists from literal like first gen to RIIZE, modern day. So like you can check that out if you want to. And yeah, I think that's all I got. So thank you again for watching. Bye!